What I want to do in this video is break down the numbers. What did it look like? What did I buy the deal for? What did I sell it for? What was my overall cost? To really evaluate whether the Exotic Car Hacks program, the car finder service with Hunter and PJ is worth it or not. Last year, I ended up buying the 911 Turbo S. It was a 2016, and at the time it had 8,900 miles on it, and I bought it for $157,000. Over that time, I went from about 8,900 miles, I went to a little over 13,000 miles. So I added, a good amount of miles, actually a little bit more than they suggested that I added on it, but I did enjoy the car and it was a lot of fun to drive. I had the car listed for $165,000. Retail value for the Porsche probably should have sold for anywhere from 160 on the low end up to about 170 on the high end. And so I had it listed kind of right in the middle range. I had a lot of buyers that were like needing to trade their cars, or like, oh, I need to trade my Ferrari to be able to buy this Porsche, or, will you do a trade? And I didn't really want to do that with people I didn't know and have to go through that whole process. And so I went and I'm like, what is my time really worth? Is it worth going and continuing to try to sell a private sale, which it would have sold private sale if I would have been more patient with it? Or could I just go to Hunter and say, hey, what would you buy this car from me for? And so, he came back to me and he's like, hey, I'll buy it back from you for $150,000. And so obviously understanding that that was under market value, after thinking about it for a little bit, I'm like, I don't have to screw around with private buyers. I can sell it more easily going to Hunter. I've already done business with them. It already makes it easy for me to not have to be stressed out about the process. Are they going to be able to fund the deal? Are they not going to be able to fund the deal? Am I going to have to go chase somebody around town, meeting them, letting them test drive my car and wasting more of my time? So I decided to go the route of, I'm just going to sell it to these guys. Obviously understanding that I walked away from a $10,000 to $15,000 additional amount of cash that I could have put in my pocket if I would have continued the private route. I chose for the more easy route, which is still significantly less money than I actually lost on the deal selling it to them, instead of the situation I had before on the Maserati where I lost over $30,000. The total cost of the ownership of the Porsche, sold it for $7,000 less with taxes, and then the cost of the interest on the loan and everything, the shipping cost of shipping the car from Florida when I bought it and then sold it and shipped it back. It all came down to around $13,000. So I owned the Porsche 911 Turbo S, one of the most fun cars I've ever driven in my entire life. And in a year's time, it only cost a little over $1,000 a month when you look at the total cost over the time that I owned it. And so if you ask me, are you happy with the result? I am really happy with the result. Would I have loved to get more money on the car? Yes, who wouldn't, right? But what I value more is the time that I have to be able to run my businesses, which is where I make my money, versus chasing, this additional amount of money, selling a car and wasting my time that I could be building my businesses and generating more income. Yes, about $13,000 for a year. I'm really happy because that was $20,000 less than I had lost on the Maserati that I owned for about the same amount of time. And so I can definitely say with the fact that the Exotic Car Hacks Car Finder program has been amazing, and I do plan to continue utilizing their service and having the opportunity to be able to switch out my cars every 9 to 12 months, and just know that, hey, if I end up trading my next car, which is the one standing behind me here, into these guys again, yes, I will have a loss on that deal trading it back into them, because yes, they're a business, they have to make some money, but my life is significantly easier and I can mitigate my loss from if I just went and bought it from some other random dealer. They make it all easy and seamless, because when I sold the Porsche back to them, they arranged the shipping, they arranged all the details, helped make the paperwork and everything super easy so it didn't waste my time, and was able to get the car to them really quickly and then swap me into the car behind me, which is the S65 AMG. I'm curious to hear in the comments below, what would you have done if you were in my situation? Would you have waited it out, sold it privately, or would you have maybe felt the same way as I did and just decided to trade it in and not spend all your time dealing with buyers of a car? And make sure to check out the next video where I show you a little bit more around the S65 that I bought and the reason that I did buy this car and what my plan is going forward.